Vancouver has a reputation for being an elite city, but at the same time, it's also a city with a reasonable portion of haunted activities. Here is a brief look at a few haunted spots in Vancouver. Some are well known, while others may come as a surprise. Many haunted places in and around Vancouver have a history of ghost spotting and weird, unexplainable sounds. Vancouver is a relatively young city. It has a good number of ghostly inhabitants. Murder mysteries, paranormal exercises, and many spooky places and haunted houses are what make Vancouver one of the best places to visit for adding a spookiness effect to your trip. Let us tell you about some of the spookiest and eerie places in Vancouver that you can visit for a spine-shivering experience. If you're interested in the spookiest tales the city offers, all you have to do is only keep listening and seeing. Now we will tell you about some haunted places in Vancouver. Goler's Mews. Goler's Mews is situated in the core of Gastown, Vancouver's most seasoned and most touristy region. The main structure on this site was built during the 1800s. It housed Vancouver's most memorable prison. After it was burned in Vancouver's Great Fire of 1886, it was replaced by a brick fire corridor. Behind the structure is a cobblestoned yard where an executioner's framework once stood. There, during the 1800s, more than 40 individuals were openly executed before it got across the road in 2008. The popular Irish Heather Bar was situated in Gaoler's Mews for many years. There are at least 3 ghosts in and around the unit where the Irish Heather was, which today houses a restaurant called L'Abattoir. One of the phantoms is of a lady dressed in black. She's mostly seen behind the restaurant, gliding along the cobblestone passageway from where the hangman's scaffold was. She glides toward the end of the passage, where she passes through a wrought iron gate leading to Blood Alley. When she through the entryway, she vanishes. Some guess she's the soul of a widow of somebody who was hanged in the courtyard, eternally grievingly her lost love. On a few mornings, one of the kitchen staff, working alone, heard her name called by a female voice. At the point when she checked out, there was no one there. In a back storage area close to the kitchen, the ghost of a lady dressed in white was spotted several times by many staff members. Every time she was seen for only several seconds before disappearing. Another phantom is of a man wearing black. He was seen a few times by Irish Heather staff, heading down the hallway past the bar and towards the back of the building. He's thought to be the same phantom as the person who used to show up in Blake's coffee parlor next door. During a Sunday evening, one of the servers was talking with a fellow employee at the bar. Suddenly, the two of them heard footsteps clomping down the wooden stairs from the loft. When they looked to see what its identity was, nobody was there. The loft section had been shut for the night and was empty. Hotel Europe. The Hotel Europe houses one phantom for sure, and possibly 2. The first paranormal activity was accounted for during the 1980s by a contractor. He was working on some repairs on his own in the basement, near a bricked-up areaway door. The contractor left the basement momentarily to bring something, and when he returned, his tools were scattered all around the floor. He then heard terrible noises coming from behind the brick wall and felt a terrible presence. Scared, he quickly collected his tools and left the basement as quickly as possible. He refused to work there again. The second soul, who could be the same as the first, is the ghost of a man wearing a dark coat with a flat cap. He shows up in the poster shop on the street level. One night in the early 2000s, just after shutting, the poster store's owner saw the phantom reflected in her curved security mirror near the apex of the building. She was amazed to see him, as she was sure the store was unfilled of customers when she'd locked the entryway. When she walked over to investigate, nobody was there. The man had unexpectedly and silently disappeared. Shaken by the terrifying experience, she locked up and left the shop in a hurry. Hotel Vancouver. The Fairmont Hotel Vancouver is located on Georgia Street, between Burrard and Hornby Streets. It's one of several chateau-style hotels established by the Canadian National Railway in the mid-20th century. They include the Chateau Lake Louise in Alberta and the Chateau Frontenac in Quebec. The hotel is spooky by a considerate and rich-dressed lady in red. She mostly appears on the 14th floor and is also seen in the ground floor lobby near the guest elevator doors. Sometimes she passes through lift entryway doors on those floors and glides along the lobbies. The most captivating is that the 1st and 14th floors are the only ones with lift entryway doors that lead to a dummy elevator shaft. The phantom has been seen passing through those neglected, locked entryways. The lady in red is also experienced in some of the visitor rooms. Once, a Japanese family that looked into a room on the 14th floor called the front desk to ask whether their room had been double booked. They claimed to have seen the lady in red in the room, which had increased their confusion. In another incident, a bellman accompanying visitors into room 1403 saw the woman dressed in red follow his visitors through the entryway into the room. At the point when he entered, the woman had disappeared. Some say the woman dressed in red is the phantom of Jenny Pearl Cox. She was a Vancouver socialite who routinely went to the inn's ballroom dances in the mid-1940s. She took up residence at the lodging after she died in a car accident. In 1944, whether she's the soul of Ms. Cox or not, the apparition is notable by the lodging staff. Old Spaghetti Factory. One of the many scary places in Vancouver is the Old Spaghetti Factory, which is a famous family restaurant. Located in the old-fashioned gastown, this place is believed to be home to the ghost of a uniformed train conductor and 3 other ghosts, which include a young boy and a little red man. Many staff members have seen the ghost of the uniformed conductor. He often appears seated at the same dining table at late night. After shutting, places and settings are moved by unseen hands, and inexplicable cold spots are experienced inside the car. The second phantom at the Old Spaghetti Factory is a little devilish soul with a bronzed face and radiant red hair. Essentially known as the Little Red Man or Looky Loo, he shouts to staff individuals by name and walks around the kitchen. His number one trick is to shock female clients in the women's washroom. The third phantom is that of a little fellow. In mid-2012, this phantom gave a female server a horrendous dread. She was in the back part of the restaurant, assisting with shutting everything down the evening. While she was in the middle of resetting a few tables, a boy ran past her towards the back. With it being so late and no customers left in the eatery, she thought it was odd that a boy was running here and there. So she followed him. The boy ran under a table close to the back wall, pivoted, and gazed toward her. At the point when she saw his face, she saw that his eyes were vacant. Panicked, she hurried to the front of the restaurant to enlighten the administrator concerning what she'd seen. She let him know that she was unable to work at the restaurant any longer and resigned on the spot. The fourth phantom in the Old Spaghetti Factory is a little girl who shows up at a table in the front window. She sits and holds a balloon in her hands. Nobody knows what her identity is. Once, a friend of the restaurant's general manager had a discussion with her that lasted a few minutes. The little girl described to him that she was looking for her mother. When he returned to the table after telling the administrator about her, she had vanished. Vancouver Art Gallery. The Vancouver Art Gallery is located in what was once British Columbia's provincial courthouse. A few spirits torment the gallery. The most popular is of a migration official who was killed outside the structure in 1914. Cleaning staff hear bodiless footsteps in the upper floors around evening time. They're caused by the phantom of a previous safety officer who is incidentally seen on the lookout. Other peculiar commotions are heard as well, including hints of somebody scavenging through different offices. At the point when the cleaners hope to see who's there, the offices are vacant. Gallery employees often find things in their work areas adjusted when they arrive at work. The spirit of an unidentified man is experienced in the basement, where prisoner holding cells used to be found and where work of art is presently put away. He's accepted to be the phantom of an accused, waiting for his following day in court. The phantom of a judge wearing his robes has likewise been seen. Vancouver Police Museum. The Vancouver Police Museum and Archives, VPMA, opened in 1986 to commemorate the 100th commemoration of the Vancouver Police Department. The structure where the historical center is found was built in 1932 for Vancouver's coroner's administration. The VPMA is spooky by unidentified spirits who hammer ways to different rooms when only exhibition hall staff are there to hear it. Footsteps are heard as well, and when museum workers look for whoever causes them, they find everything calm and unoccupied. Some workers see peculiar light abnormalities, including circles, all through the building. Others experience three-layered shadow figures. After having these terrifying experiences, many employees refuse to work alone in the museum at nighttime. Waterfront Station. Situated at the western end of Gaston, Waterfront Station has many phantoms. It's perhaps one of the most spooky structures in Midtown Vancouver. One evening, a watchman saw the phantom of a lady in a 1920s flapper dress. She was moving alone in a passageway on the west side of the building. He could hear the sound of 1920s music playing as she danced. At the point when he moved toward her, the music halted and she disappeared. Another safety officer got the alarm of his life while watching the northwest corner of the building. As he went into a vacant room with only his spotlight to light the way, he experienced the phantom of an elderly woman. She was shining phosphorus white and had a distressed look all over. As he stood stunned, she contacted him. Panicked, he ran from the room. On an upper floor on the east side of the structure, one more gatekeeper experienced apparition-like movement while on night watch. When he went through a room used to store several old desks, many desks and chairs moved together behind him. He ran away from the room. Different safety officers at the Waterfront Station have heard the hints of ghost footsteps strolling on the tiled floors of the structure late around nighttime when no other individual is near. Others have seen the phantoms of three little old women sitting on a station seat, as though hanging tight for a train that won't ever show up. The delightful Waterfront Station is an extremely spooky spot for sure. The Vogue Theatre. The historic Vogue Theatre in Vancouver has gained notoriety for being spooky by a dull-haired and extreme-looking man. Staff and entertainers have had a wide range of unpleasant experiences, from hearing unusual drumming sounds on a vacant stage to seeing a spooky figure unexpectedly disintegrate like a phantom. Yet, this dull-haired man has by a long shot been the most spotted on the stage, catwalks, storm cellar corridor, and projection corner. There's one restricted passageway that the staff has energetically named the Haunted Highway, where his presence is known to make banging noises. Orpheum Theatre. The Orpheum Theatre is a significant entertainment venue in Vancouver. Adding to its importance are its delightfully saved building plan and its huge part in the city's specialties and diversion scene. Yet, other than being a memorable spot, lodging spirits that add to the phantom stories in the city are likewise known. Individuals discuss spirits hanging out on the balcony around evening time, and surprisingly, the men's bathroom is said to have a few truly unpleasant energies. Latrines are flushing all alone and sinks running maxing out without anybody in the bathrooms. There's talk that a person once draped himself in an unfinished plumbing space close to the projection room, yet there's no strong proof to back it up. In any case, some trust that this self-destructive man may be among the spirits tormenting the Orpheum Theatre. Dead Man's Island. The Dead Man's Island is a little, uninhabited island resting calmly in the waters of Burrard Gulf. However, its story is everything except peaceful. When a hallowed graveyard for native people groups, Dead Man's Island gets its name from the Squigswoo Seven Mesh, Squamish, individuals who considered it the island of dead men in light of an unfortunate fight among northern and southern countries. Today, the island remains an assigned heritage site. Be that as it may, its tragic and sad history, combined with reports of clearly thumping clamors, spooky groans of a young lady, and such, add to the island's standing as a spooky spot. The Cambie Houses. The Cambie House, situated at the site of King Edward and Cambie in Vancouver, has turned into the subjects of a well-known urban myth. As per legend, a frightful situation unfolded inside its walls when a man killed his family in the basement. A few bold people who moved in later guaranteed they encountered some creepy stuff. Picture awakening to find every one of your possessions strangely pressed and set right by the front entryway, or the things unexpectedly moved near the windowsill. Mountain View Cemetery. Mountain View Graveyard in Vancouver is a peaceful and historic resting place, surrounded by staggering mountain views. But over the years, the graveyard has gained popularity for being spooky. Guests and staff have announced experiencing phantoms, unusual lights, and frightful sounds in the midst of the headstones and catacombs. As a spot with a rich history and profound energy, however, it's no big surprise that the Mountain View Graveyard has turned into a home to phantoms and a subject of interest for paranormal lovers. The Dominion Building. The Dominion Building was once known as the Domain Bank Building and was the tallest structure in the English Empire. Notwithstanding, behind its greatness lies a spooky story related to its premiere night. During the celebratory occasion, a sad episode happened, bringing about the passing of the structure's engineer, John S. Hellier. People telling that he either tumbled down a stairwell or, more chillingly, purposely bounced from the structure. Many have professed to hear puzzling footsteps and, surprisingly, Hellier's phantom since that fateful night. Steamworks Brewery Pub. The Landing, a multi-rented commercial building in Vancouver, holds a dazzling history as a supply warehouse for gold rush miners in the mid-1900s. Overlooking Vancouver Harbor and Canada Place, the structure exudes vintage charm. However, during the dark hours, security guards witnessed a ghostly lady dressed in white wandering through the lobby. Some people say these phantoms are that of a man who jumped from the roof and a woman who died in a fire.